Number 8. Catherine Bush. On March the 21st of 2022, during a Jet 2 flight from Manchester, England to Antalya, Turkey, British woman Catherine Bush became belligerent and confrontational with the cabin crew, as well as other passengers. Her outburst, which was captured in a cell phone video that subsequently went viral, was reportedly triggered about an hour and a half into the flight. She had grown increasingly disturbed by the sound of young children crying on board the plane, and also claimed that certain passengers had been looking at her funny. In order to confront the individuals responsible for the perceived disrespect, Bush walked to the front of the cabin and allegedly slapped some of her fellow travelers. Flight staff intervened, requesting that she calm down and return to her seat. It was at that point that Bush shifted her ire towards the crew, launching a barrage of expletive-laden insults at them. According to eyewitnesses, the woman then tried to exit the aircraft mid-flight by opening one of its doors, but was fortunately unable to do so. The flight was ultimately diverted to the Austrian capital of Vienna, where Bush was removed from the plane. In the incident's aftermath, Jet 2 announced that they were issuing the woman a hefty fine, as well as a lifetime ban from any of the airline's future flights. Number 7. Could be Abdul Qadir. Shortly before 5 p.m. on May the 5th of 2021, a gun was fired during an altercation outside of the Smoke Some Smoke shop in New Orleans, Louisiana. Responding police officers came upon a man identified as Anthony Francois, who sustained a gunshot wound. Francois was taken to a nearby hospital where he ultimately passed away. Another man, later named as 24-year-old Qutbi Abdul Qadir, was detained by police at the store for questioning. It was quickly established that Abdul Qadir had been responsible for the shooting, and he was consequently arrested on the charge of second-degree murder. In the wake of the incident, it emerged that Francois had allegedly been threatening and harassing the Smoke Some staff almost daily for over a week. On the day of the shooting, Abdul Qadir had confronted the man about his behavior after seeing him banging on the glass storefront. During his interviews with investigators, Abdul Qadir claimed to have seen Francois reaching for an object as their argument escalated. Believing the man to have been in the process of pulling out a gun, Abdul Qadir brandished his own weapon and shot him twice. Despite his initial claims of self-defense, he was ultimately indicted on the murder charge in February of 2022. Number 6. Lamont Butler. Las Vegas police were dispatched to a residence at about 1:50 p.m. on January the 17th of 2022 after receiving reports of gunfire on the premises. Upon their arrival, officers discovered that a man later named by the Clark County Coroner's Office as DeMaurian Turner had been shot. The incident was related to an altercation that had erupted during a social gathering being held in the 900 block of Morgan Avenue. Turner was ultimately declared dead at the scene. The individual who'd fired the fatal round reportedly fled following the shooting, but he was ultimately identified as 29-year-old Lamont Butler. 3 days later, Butler was tracked down by the Metro Police and booked into the Clark County Detention Center on a single count of open murder. Number 5. Christina Glover. While participating in the Players' Championship in May of 2018, professional golfer Lucas Glover was involved in a domestic violence incident in Florida. On the 12th of the month, the 38-year-old had contacted the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department following an altercation with his wife, Krista, in which she'd allegedly attacked both him and his mother. Glover told investigators that his wife would often get upset with him, sometimes to the point of turning physically violent, whenever he played poorly in a golf tournament. During the incident in question, Krista had drunkenly initiated an argument with Glover about how he'd failed to reach the championship round that weekend. She proceeded to berate and hit him in front of their family. When his mother attempted to intervene, Krista reportedly struck her in the arms and chest. She reportedly became hostile towards the responding police officers as well, launching a barrage of profanities as they took her into custody. Krista was ultimately charged with domestic battery and resisting arrest, and the following day was released from the county jail on a $2,500 bond. It later emerged that at the behest of Glover himself, the charges against his wife had been dropped and she thus avoided punishment in connection to the incident. Number 4. Charlene Thompson. Two women got into a heated argument that turned violent at a home in Mount Airy, Ohio, a suburban neighborhood of northern Cincinnati, on December the 2nd of 2018. Subsequent reports didn't specify the relationship between the individuals, one of whom was identified as 61-year-old Charlene Thompson and described as the primary aggressor in the altercation. As indicated by court records, the situation dramatically escalated and culminated with Thompson dumping hot grease all over the other woman. The victim reportedly suffered severe burns to her arms and back, which were clearly visible to officers when they arrived at the scene. Thompson was taken into police custody and charged with felonious assault, and her bond was subsequently set at $50,000. At the time of her arrest, Thompson already had 2 outstanding warrants in Hamilton County, stemming from charges of criminal damaging or endangering. It also emerged that she had a long history of criminal activity, including several instances of assault. During one incident, which occurred on Christmas Eve 2006, Thompson had allegedly struck her daughter over the head, although the charges were eventually dismissed as part of a plea deal. Beyond her assault-related arrests, the woman had also faced criminal charges in connection to drug possession, arson, and theft in the past. Number 3. Ayanna Mayweather. In the early morning hours of April the 4th of 2020, Ayanna Mayweather was arrested following a violent altercation at the residence of rapper NBA Youngboy in Houston, Texas. The 19-year-old woman, identified as the daughter of former boxer Floyd Mayweather, had reportedly gotten into an argument with her love rival, LaPatra Lashai Jacobs, the previous night. It later emerged that Jacobs was the mother of one of NBA Youngboy's children, while Mayweather claimed to be engaged to the prolific hip-hop artist. Investigators learned that it was Jacobs who'd initiated the altercation by pulling Mayweather's hair, after which the latter allegedly charged at her with 2 knives and proceeded to stab her multiple times in the arm. Although her injuries were described as non-life-threatening, Jacobs was subsequently taken to a nearby hospital to undergo surgery. Upon her arrest, Mayweather was booked into the Harris County Jail on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and her bond was set at $30,000. For the attack, the young woman faced a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, but she ultimately reached a plea deal with prosecutors in April of 2022, which sentenced her to 6 years of probation and 40 hours of community service. Today's topic was inspired by Marcus781. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Brian Alexis Cifuentes. On January the 30th of 2022, the Los Angeles Rams played against the San Francisco 49ers in the National Football League's NFC Championship game at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Roughly 30 minutes after the game had begun, stadium security found a man later identified as Daniel Luna unconscious in the parking lot. Emergency services were called to the scene and Luna was transported to Harbor UCLA Medical Center, where he was placed in a medically induced coma. Investigators obtained surveillance footage from the stadium in an attempt to determine what events had led to Luna's catatonic state. As detailed by the Inglewood mayor in a subsequent press conference, security video had captured a fight between Luna and another man, Brian Alexis Cifuentes, during what appeared to have been a tailgate party. Luna, who was reported to have been wearing a 49ers jersey, had instigated the altercation by pushing the Rams jersey-clad Cifuentes. The latter then retaliated by pushing Luna back and punching him in the mouth, knocking him unconscious. The police traced the vehicle shown in the video that was believed to have belonged to Cifuentes and contacted its registered owner. The man ultimately agreed to speak with investigators about the incident, voluntarily going to the Inglewood Police Department later that night to undergo a line of questioning. Following the interview, 33-year-old Cifuentes was arrested and charged with 1 felony count of battery with serious bodily injury. Updates indicated that he was scheduled to be arraigned on August the 29th of 2022. Number 1. Brittany Alicia Griffith. Georgia woman Brittany Alicia Griffith was arrested for shooting a teenager in the head during a road rage altercation on May the 1st of 2022. Shortly before 5 p.m., the 30-year-old woman had been following Ashlyn Crouch's car along Interstate 20 near Villa Rica for an estimated 15 miles. According to local police, their dispute had been sparked by a previous traffic incident in which Crouch had cut Griffith off. The altercation abruptly escalated as the 2 vehicles approached the Chapel Hill Road exit in Douglasville, which was when Griffith allegedly pulled out a gun and fired a single round in the teen's direction. The bullet reportedly struck the victim behind the ear before exiting through the side of her eye. Crouch was rushed to a hospital for treatment, and medical staff subsequently revealed that she was expected to make a full recovery. A female passenger in Crouch's car took a picture of the moment Griffith had brandished a firearm, which investigators used to identify the suspect. Immediately after the shooting, in what was regarded as a casual attitude towards her actions, Griffith had reportedly gone to get her nails done. She eventually turned herself into the authorities at about 11 p.m. that night and was consequently charged with aggravated assault and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, as well as 3 counts of cruelty to children. The latter charge stemmed from the fact that Griffith's 3 children had been in the car with her at the time she'd fired the gun. The following morning, Judge Susan Camp denied Griffith's bond during a hearing at the Douglas County Magistrate Court. Thanks for watching. Would you rather fight a trained martial artist or defend a murder suspect in court without any preparation? Let us know in the comments section below.